Alright, so welcome back class. So we'll be doing a lesson on concrete mix specifications and ratios. And last time we spoke about concrete mixing, the process and particular terms and associated with it. So this is me, Mr. Lester again, and objectives to define specifying concrete, what specifying concrete is, outline the methods of specifying concrete, explain those methods, and identify common mix ratios. So we may not get to go into the identification of common mix ratios, but we'll go over a few of them as we just go through the lesson. So definition. So specifying concrete refers to the identification of a mix based on a particular classification. In other words, it's identifying a mix based on a particular classification. I'm just joking. It's really meaning to recognize a concrete mix based on how it is mixed, or what the process would have involved to mix it. So when I go into the various methods, you get an understanding of what this definition is saying. I said these methods, any of the four methods may be used to specify concrete, and these are designed mix, prescribed mix, standard mix, and designated mix. So these are the four methods, and as I move further into these mixes, you get an understanding of what that definition is saying. So design mix. This mix is specified by a grade corresponding to the required characteristic compressive strength at 28 days. And compressive strength speaks to the pushing strength or the pushing forces applied to something. So in other words, the load bearing strength of concrete after 28 days. And there are particular grades that would be associated based on a mix after 28 days. So this mix is specified based by grade, and there are 12 grades from C7 to C60, and C indicating compressive and the number indicating the strength in newtons per millimeter square. And as I stated before in the previous lesson, the mm2, it should be millimeter square, but because of the editing, you couldn't be able to get that. Or m megapascals. So you see that this is a particular specified way to mix the concrete, to identify the concrete. So this is identified based on its compressive strength. So this is what it's talking about. Just going back a bit, how do you specify is identifying the mix based on a classification. This is by strength classification, right? As the design mix. And the design mix can be specified also by flexural strength, and the flexural strength grades would be F3, F4, F5. Example 3, 4, 5 being the newtons per millimeter square, similar to the compressive strength, and the F being standing for flexural strength. And this speaks to the twistable strength, how flexible the concrete would be after 28 days. Or another, aka the tensile or pulling strength. In addition to stating the strength grades, the purchaser must also specify any particular requirements for cement and aggregate content and maximum free water to cement ratio. So other than just stating the grades, you have to specify any particular requirements for the cement and aggregate content and maximum free water to cement ratio. And prescribed mix now, this is another form of specification, and it says this is a recipe of constituents with their properties and quantities used to manufacture the concrete. The specifier must state the type of cement, type of aggregate and the maximum size, mix proportions by weight, degree of workability, whether it be slump and or water to cement ratio, and the application. Yes. Alright, so a recipe of constituents. So you get a prescribed list of things. And when you hear the word prescribed, think about the pharmacy, you think about the word prescription. And when you're on a prescription, you see um, what the doctor would have given you based on what your illness is or what your condition is. But it wouldn't just be a name stating what you want. There will be a specific requirement as to how much and and when to apply it or how to apply it. So that's what the prescribed list does. Prescribed mix does. My apologies. So the specifier must state the type of cement. So you have various types of cement. You have ordinary Portland cement that we use all the way around. You have rapid heating, low heat, rapid hardening, um, low sulfur, high sulfur. They have different type of cement for different environments and conditions. Have types of aggregates and their maximum sizes, and this speaks to fine and coarse aggregates. Mixed proportions by weight and the degree of workability, how easy or how hard or how fluid it's able to mix out, and it speaks to how much water is in the mix and stuff like that. So still with the prescribed mix, the prescribed mixes are based on established data indicating conformity to strength, durability, and other characteristics. Basic examples could include 1 to 3 to 6, and we spoke about the ratios. We're going to speak more about it. 1 to 3 to 6 per 40 millimeter aggregate. So it's saying that 1 cement to 3 parts fine aggregate to 6 parts coarse aggregate per 40 millimeter aggregate, and 1 to 2 to 4 per 20 millimeter aggregate. And this would be an example of a prescribed mix. Standard mix now. So mixes are produced from 1 to 5 grades, ranging from ST1 to ST5, and ST being standard, and with corresponding 28-day strength characteristics of 7.5 to a limit of only 25 Newton per millimeter square. Mix composition and details are specified by cement to aggregate by weight, type of cement again, aggregate type and maximum size, workability, use or omission of reinforcement, and that speaks to things like mild steel bars, in other words, the steel where we add to our blocks, or when we are build houses, stuff like that. So that's what they call reinforcement. And still with standard mix, these mixes are most suited for site production where the scale of operation is relatively small. Alternatively, they may be used where mix design procedures would be too time consuming, inappropriate, or uneconomic. So in other words, mix design procedures would have been like a higher scale design procedure where you'd have a breakdown of everything in the mix design that you want, and you'd follow that step to the T. But it would cost too much or be too time consuming, or it just wouldn't be appropriate for the size or the measure of the the site. You get me? So these mixes are most suited to site production. So a smaller site where you just know say standard mix would have been applicable right there. Designated mix. These mixes are selected relative to particular applications and site conditions. In place of generalizations and use of alternate design criteria that may not be entirely appropriate. Grading and strength characteristics are extensive, my apologies, and vary with application as indicated. And they have different aspects. General graded from 0 to 4, ranging from 7.5 to 25 Newton per millimeter square characteristic strength. And this is used for foundation, floors, and external works. Foundations graded 2, 3, 4A and 4B, with characteristic strength of 35 Newton per millimeter square, and they are particularly appropriate for resisting the effects of sulfates in the ground. And so if you're realizing this, the mix would be specified based on the designated aspect of what you want to. So general being that general works, so floors, external works, some foundation. Foundation now speaking to actual foundation work deep into the ground that is exposed to so things like sulfate. So and the fact that it's bearing foundations are bearing the load, carrying the load of the building itself. I have paving now which is graded 1 to 2 in 35 or 45 Newton per millimeter square, and it's like respectively, strengths respectively, a strong concrete for use in driveways or heavy duty paving. So pavings, reinforced concrete or pre-stressed concrete graded at 30, 35, 40, 45 and 50 corresponding with characteristic strength and exposures ranging from mild to most severe. Still with designated mix. In addition to application, the purchaser needs to specify whether it's going to be used on reinforced or unreinforced, pre-stressed, heated or ambient temperature, maximum aggregate size if not 20 millimeter, exposure to chemicals such as chlorides and sulfates, exposure to sub-zero and exposure to sub-zero temperatures, which affects plating and curing. And because of the precise nature of these designated mixed concrete, quality control is of paramount importance. So you realize that with each step up in each mix design, there comes a standard that gets greater, a lot more pressure and so, except for standard. But designated mix breaks down everything, requiring everything to be stated and specified because of the level of work that is done, and because the quality has to be maintained. Therefore, producers are required to have a quality assurance product conformity accreditation to BSEN ISO 9001, and that last piece, that those letters and numbers, is just an organization that governs standards and qualities. Yeah. And concrete ratios. These are quantitative relationship between the amount of materials in the concrete mixture. And concrete ratio mixes can be expressed as volume ratios, thus 1 to 2 to 4, and this is what we're expressing as 1 part cement to 2 part fine aggregate to 4 parts coarse aggregate, 1 to 5, which is 1 part cement to 5 parts all in aggregate, and all in aggregates are those already made packaged aggregates where it just has a mixture of all fine and coarse aggregates in there. 1 to 10, and this is not a strong mix, but is suitable for filling weak pockets in excavation or for blinding layers. 1 to 8 mean slightly better than the last one, which is slightly better than the first one rather, and suitable for paths or paving. 1 to 6, a strong mix suitable for mass concrete foundation, paths and paving. 1 to 3 to 6, the weakest mix equivalent to that quoted in approved document A, and this is a set of building regulation documents as deemed to satisfy the requirements of building regulation A1, and that is specified based on the construction technology book. You can read a lot more on that. It's written by Roy Chudley. I have a copy. I'll try to see if I can upload a copy of that copy to the website as well. And you have the 1 to 2 to 4, a strong mix that is practically impervious to water, in common use especially for reinforced concrete, and that's the mix we tend to use typically in our households right across Jamaica as standard for most construction. I will not say all, most. And references, as I stated before, the textbook Construction Technology written by Roy Chudley and Greeno. Chudley and Greeno. I don't remember his first name, but yes. And you can look up this book. It's actually, if you search hard enough, you can find it on Google. and you can get a copy, or you can search for particular information that is taken from it. But I'll try to see if I can get a copy up shared for you guys. And this is the end of it. Thank you for listening, guys. You can look through the rest of videos and get ready for your tests coming up. So all the best, and go take on the world of construction. Enjoy the rest of your day.